everyone needs to see. Within the past few hours, the Weather Channel's team of hurricane specialists raised the exclusive threat index to action. That means major cities like Washington, D.C., Pittsburgh, New York City, Boston, all need to be prepared for the impacts of Hurricane Sandy.
People in the line of fire, so to speak, of this potentially historic storm are heeding the warnings. Something we like to see. This picture from Washington, D.C. shows store shelves once containing bottled water are stripped bare.
We have expert analysis you will not get anywhere else. From the Weather Channel headquarters in Atlanta, you're watching Weather Center Live. A strong statement from our team of hurricane specialists. Your preparations for Hurricane Sandy need to be completed by the end of the day tomorrow. I'm Kelly Cass.
And I'm Crystal Lager. Good thing it's the weekend. We have some extra time to do that. We have more nonstop coverage of Hurricane Sandy right now. Here's the very latest information. New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg says his city is ready for Hurricane Sandy and that no evacuations are needed at this time.
That could change, though, and 8 states and the District of Columbia have now declared a state of emergency, and heavy rain and wind gusts up to 45 miles per hour hit North Carolina's Outer Banks earlier this afternoon. From an army of reporters out in the thick of it, including our storm tracker Jim Cantori, to a team of our experts right here in the Global Forecast Center, we have team coverage only the Weather Channel can bring you.
All right, let's kick it off with our hurricane specialist right now, Dr. Greg Postel. Dr. Postel, here we are at the top of the hour. Busy night ahead. What do we know right now?
Sandy continues to behave as expected. It's moving now parallel to the coast. It's moving northeast about 350 miles east of Jacksonville. Here's the latest advisory from the Hurricane Center. 75-mile-per-hour storm, and there's that all-important motion. It is moving off to the northeast, generally in that direction. The center of circulation is way out here with a cluster of thunderstorms. That's where the hurricane-like part of Sandy is. There's a lot of rain shower activity spread out over a large area way out here. That is the nor'easter component to this. So it's got all of these ingredients that are coming together to produce some significant effects that are even right now being felt on the Carolina coast. You were mentioning we saw some wind gusts up to 40 and 45 miles per hour on the Outer Banks of North Carolina right here. This is a very heavy rain band with certainly gusts close to that, just a little bit of the way inland from there. So here's the cone from the Hurricane Center. Sandy going to be moving northeast again like expected. The Hurricane Center has done a wonderful job in predicting this so far. 75 miles per hour here on Sunday evening at 24 hours, and then Sunday night it is going to take that left turn or west turn into the coast, likely late Monday. We think the most likely landfall point at this point we think is going to be somewhere on the Jersey coast, but again, it's such a huge storm. Impacts will be felt all the way from Maine to Carolina. Here's a wind graphic that we have for the entire storm event. This is what you can expect through Tuesday in this area shaded in the darkest purple here. 30 to 50 mile per hour winds, gusts to 75 plus, and those strong winds extend well out from there. So with that, let's toss to Jim Cantori. Let's bring him in. He's in Battery Park, New York. What you got, Jim?
Well, it's kind of interesting. Mayor Bloomberg just spoke at a 6 o'clock conference, and I'm almost wondering if it's because they've gone through this with Irene before, or if they're just not as concerned about this storm. Or maybe it's because we don't have hurricane warnings or tropical storm warnings. Whatever the case may be, certainly, statements like there's no evacuations needed at this time is something, we'll have to look at a little bit further, certainly tomorrow, because there may very well be. And, let's show this map of storm surge, Dr. Postel, and talk a little bit about this. First of all, let's refresh everybody about Irene, which happened on August 28th, 2011. We had 3 to 6 foot surge in Long Island Sound and New York Harbor. All right, I saw the water myself over the battery. We had 3 to 6 foot surge along the Jersey Shore. Many indications suggest that it will be higher. The forecast for surge also forecast a higher surge amount, which may even accompany multiple tide cycles because of the largeness of this storm. I mean, what do you think, Greg, about the size of this surge?
Well, Sandy is taking a different trajectory. It is coming from the east to the west across, well, we think very likely now the center will come across the New Jersey coast late Monday evening. So along and just to the north of that will be where the most water comes ashore. And right now the current forecasts this is the total water rise. So this includes everything, the surge, the storm component, the tides, everything, 4 to 8 feet. So the higher end is definitely higher than what we saw with Irene. And remember, Irene, Jim, as you were pointing out, was kind of going from south to north with a little bit of an eastward component to it. So it was almost like, paralleling the coast. This one is coming in this direction, and that may have a significant difference when you talk about the storm surge just to the north of where the center comes on shore.
Yeah, I mean, that type of a left hook, which is something we just aren't used to and really haven't seen, it's just a caveat I wouldn't let my guard down on. I mean, to be honest with you. Let's talk about this and what came out of this conference today. First of all, New York, as usual, going about it very well, talking about all the different components because let's think about this. You've got a mass transit system that, on average, transports 8.5 million people per day in and around the city. So buses, taxis, trains, subway, I mean, all these things move people around, and lots of people. And so they're going to have to make, plans to potentially see some of these systems come offline for a period of time. They talked about that. There are no plans to do that at this time. I think tomorrow is when we're going to hear that. Also, aviation, you've got issues at the airport. They're asking people to call ahead as well. And people, remember, if you're going to be in those high rises, if you lose power, that means you may not get water up there. So keep a little bit extra water on hand for a couple of days. Postel, back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. And that is an important point to consider. With such a wide-ranging impact, we are going to have winds that are perhaps gusting to hurricane force, maybe all the way from say southern parts of New England all the way down to say perhaps the Virginia coast, depending on exactly where the center comes in, but a long way from the center. And so that will likely bring down a lot of trees over many states and introduce lots of power outages to perhaps tens of millions. So this could linger on for a long time thereafter. So with that, we'll have more coverage on Sandy in later updates. Crystal and Kelly, I'm going to send it back to you guys in the studio.
That's right. We are staying with you around the clock.